That means production assistant. That means you go on set and you get to go get coffee. If an actor wants coffee, you go get coffee. If they want to bring their dog to the set, you bring their dog to the set. If the producer needs a specific type of pen at Office Depot, you go to Office Depot, and you just learn kind of what everybody does. You guys kind of have a jump on that here because this equipment is better than some colleges I've seen. So I just worked my way up into doing music videos, eventually working for places like ESPN and MTV, which you guys even know what MTV is anymore. Okay, there you go, one person. And then made my first feature film in 2016, and then I did a documentary, then I made another movie in 2020. And you just sort of have to pay your dues. You can't just go, well, I want to be a director and walk onto a film set. You have to kind of work your way up. Go ahead.
Crazy question.
No,
So,
no crazy questions.
you know the show Ridiculous?
Yes, with what's his name?
Ridiculousness?
Rob,
Judah?
yeah, yeah.
You worked with him?
No, I haven't, but I know who he is. She seems disappointed, sorry. Yeah,
You made this film Black Friday.
I did, yeah.
And you worked with Devin Sawa.
Yes, he's a good friend of mine.
Bruce Campbell.
Yes.
And the guy from Goosebumps.
Oh, Ryan Lee, yeah, yeah.
How fun was that?
Oh, it's one of the best experiences I had in my life.
Yeah.
We shot during COVID, which was tough because when you're filming a movie, which probably will never happen again because it was a nightmare, but we filmed during COVID, so everybody had masks on. You couldn't really talk to people, but it was a great experience. Go ahead, bud. That's a great question. I like all different kinds of movies for different reasons. People always ask me my top 5. I really love the first Matrix movie because I'd never seen anything like that. I obviously love Jaws, which I think you guys have a poster up there. I love The Shining, which I think is just super creepy. I love Bridesmaids because I don't know that I've ever seen a movie that funny. I also love Superbad, which is really funny. But there's also a lot of great foreign films. I think one of the problems we have in America is we're very egocentric as far as our art goes. So we think that like only American music is good and only American movies are good. And there's so many like French movies, Korean movies, Mexican movies that are really incredible. There's a great Mexican movie called Amores Perros. There's an incredible French love story called Blue is the Warmest Color, which was kind of controversial because it was a love story between two women, but an incredible movie. So, I mean, trying to think if I've seen anything recently that I really loved. I'm not really a big fan of all these superhero movies. Some of them are cool, but they're getting so tired. I was talking to the kid who does the talk show. There was a horror movie called Talk to Me, which was great. And the two guys that made it were brothers, and they grew up having a YouTube channel called, I think it's called Raka Raka, which I don't watch YouTube, so I didn't know what it was. But it just goes to show if you guys want to be filmmakers, you can do stuff on YouTube and get yourself to a point where you make movies. So.
Yeah, like Talk to Me, the A24 movie.
Yep,
like,
it's great.
The hand. Yeah.
Mhm.
And also like 2 other YouTubers, Markiplier and Chris Stuckman are making their own movies.
We'll see
Yeah.
if they get through it. Making a movie is not like doing a YouTube video.
Oh, I bet.
It's a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how I got my start, and I don't know if you guys have any more questions.
If you have a question, shout it out. Andy?
How long does it usually take to like film and produce something?
Okay, that's a good question. If you guys wanted to make a movie, you need to have a script first. So you could go on the internet and find a screenplay somebody wrote, or you can write one yourself. So let's say it takes 6 months to write a screenplay. And let's say you write it, and then you send it to this guy here to produce it. He's going to go through the screenplay, and he's going to make some changes, and then you're going to have to do more rewrites. So let's say it takes 8 months to write it. Once you're done writing it, you need to send it out to people who are financiers, which they're like a bank. They actually finance the movie. It's like if you want to build a house, you got to take out a loan from the bank to get the money to build a house, unless your parents are rich, which in that case, if your parents are rich, you should be making movies now. And then you start casting. You you say you like Rob Dyrdek. Okay, so go to Rob Dyrdek. Maybe he wants to be in your movie. If he does, you got to get other cast. So that takes maybe 3 months. And then once you're ready to go, you got to pick locations. Let's say it's a story about kids in a high school. And then you want to film it at Dartmouth High School. And then the Dartmouth High School administration says, we don't want you filming a movie here. So then you have to film it at New Bedford High School. And that takes a couple more weeks because you can't film when the kids are there. So you got to film it in the summer. And then you film it. And that takes about a month, 2 months, depending on what the story is. And then you have to edit the movie. And depending on how cerebral you want to be about the process of the editing, that could take 6 months. And then once you're done, you have to screen it for people. And then when you screen it for people, they could say, well, I really didn't like this part. Then you have to go back and you have to fix it. And maybe if you have some explosions or gunshots or whatever, that needs to be done with visual effects. So that takes another couple months. So from start to finish, probably about 2 years. So it's a long time. Yeah. Yes.
What is it like in like the editor's room where like you go pre-production, production, and then post-production?
Yeah. It depends on who the editor is and how involved you are as a director or a producer in the process. Some editors work great by themselves. Some want to work with other editors. I have a good friend of mine who just edited the last Captain Marvel movie, which is a Marvel movie. He worked with another editor. I think there's just so much visual effects and graphics and stuff.
Marvels?
Yeah, the Marvels. Yeah, Evan Schiff, who was the editor on that, is a buddy of mine. So he worked on that for about 2 years. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you see, like, in this industry right now, like the TV industry, they're asking for students to know a little bit more about everything?
Yep.
Would you say that the film industry is going that route, or would it be more specialized, where it's still, you know, you're an editor and that's it, that's all you do is edit. You're a cinematographer and that's all you do is you do the cinematography.
I think when you're young, like these folks are, I think it's good to know a little bit of everything because you don't want to be sort of blindsided by going, you know, if you go to Emerson or you go to USC and they say, hey, we have some opportunities for you to be a PA on this new Quentin Tarantino movie. If you're a PA and you don't, if they're like, hey, we need you to go pick up the dailies, and you're like, what's that? So if if they, we need you to go grab some lenses at the camera shop. If you know a little bit of everything, it probably will help you get along faster. The biggest word of advice I can give any of you, if you ever work in any kind of media, whether it's ESPN or obscure black and white French movies, is just admit when you don't know what you're doing. Don't act like, I got it, I know what I'm doing, because trust me, I have kids your age. They always think they know what they're doing. Just admit, you don't just go, I don't know. Teach me about that, and someone will share with you. So that's the best advice I could give, probably. Yeah. Yes.
What like film directors would you say are the best? Like, are like your favorite? Like, filmmakers?
I think that's a great question, but it really depends on what your idea of a successful movie is.
Like Spielberg or Scorsese?
I mean, probably both of those guys, but I think that's a very conventional answer. I think you have to look at, everybody loves this kid Robert Eggers, who did The Witch and the Viking movie, what was it called? The Northman. But his movies never make money. So how good can he be? And then people want to dump all over Michael Bay because he's cheesy, yet every movie he makes $1 bazillion. So I would pick Michael Bay over Robert Eggers. No disrespect to Robert Eggers, but it's that old saying, like, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, does it make a sound? It's like, great for Robert Eggers that he's talented, but if no one's going to see your movies, if you're a musician, do you want to be like Taylor Swift, or do you want to be some obscure artist that nobody's ever heard of? And it's got nothing to do with the money, but like, money's nice. It's nice to have a job and make a job out of it. So picking a favorite, I would say my favorites are the ones who have figured out the best way to weave the industry and continue to work and make movies that people enjoy, So, yeah. Anybody else? These guys are quiet. They're quiet for a media class.
Questions, so Brady, you have one?
So like, how do you find like stuff to direct? Like, do people like come up to you?
People will send me scripts all the time. Devin Sawa, who was an actor in my last movie, he wrote something recently he sent to me, and he said, I think I want you to direct this. And it was he wrote a really great story. So you have to, there's a lot of writers online. There's great websites like not Shutterfly. There's a great script writing websites where you can sign up usually for free, get an account. Like The Blacklist is one of them. The Blacklist is a website where all these young Hollywood writers will upload their screenplays, and at the end of the year, they pick like the 10 best ones. And over the last 5 to 10 years, like every year, like 3 or 4 of those movies get made, and they all become like Oscar winners. So it's pretty, yes.
What's one of your favorite movies
That I've done?
like done or like worked with or like?
My last one, Black Friday, which I don't think you can show you because it's a rated R horror movie, but that.
The trailer okay to show?
Yeah, of course. I think. I mean, there's some monsters in it, but they're stupid monsters. Yes.
Is it on your IMDb?
If you YouTube, can you get on YouTube?
Oh yeah.
Just YouTube Black Friday movie,
Okay.
and it should be the one with like the zombie face. You had a question? Yeah.
When did you start this? Like
I started late because I didn't think I could actually make it a real career. So I always wanted to do it, but after college,
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds.
I started doing. Ryan Reynolds was not in my movie. I started doing graphic design from like 20 to 28 because I needed a job. I lived on my own in Boston. I needed to pay bills, and it wasn't until I was 30 that I was like, you know what? This is what I really want to do. Because I truly feel like no matter what you guys do, if you become makeup artists, if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, if you want to become a police officer, if you want to become a filmmaker, no matter what you do, please, I'm begging you, find something that you like to do. And don't let anyone tell you that what you're doing is, oh, that job's terrible, or you can't. Just find something that makes you happy, because if you're working in a job that you're not happy in, you're going to be miserable. And that's the last thing you want to do. So. Did you find it?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
This is a quick ad.
Oh, yeah.
Owner of Mint Mobile, my goal is to spend as little as
More Ryan
possible
Reynolds.
on things like her.
Oh, yeah, this is it.
Happy Black Friday, we love toys.
You still on for pancakes for me? Chris, you're on the register for the night. We're short staffed. Wait up! I'm Emmett. You worked retail before? No.
There's no day more harmful to retail workers than this day. What do we love? Toys! Good job.
Races, everyone!
3, 2, go, baby. Go, Black Friday!
Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
There's something wrong with the shoppers. Oh, we gotta do something.
We're 1 hour into Black Friday, and we're escorting customers away from the store.
Is that the new guy?
Our shoppers are going crazy. Whatever you do, don't let them gather. They're building something.
At this point, we're just in their way. We're gonna have to fight.
I don't think this night can get any worse.
Does anybody else just think that's funny?
We have to make a run for it.
Black Friday is over!
He says we're all going to die.
Back up, homie!
Love it here.
The police are here.
Got your doorbusters right here, mother.
Is anybody traumatized? Okay, good. Just checking.
I've seen worse.
What?
Where's it on? Is it going on Netflix?
No, not Netflix, but it's on. I think it's on Amazon and iTunes, and probably can get it for free if you guys use torrent sites or whatever to steal things.
My dad does that.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I have no problem with that. You know. So yeah.
Have you heard of Flex?
Yeah, it's actually on Plex, I think, for free.
Oh, word.
Yeah, so you can watch it. And if it stinks, go online and give me a bad review.
When you talked about like foreign films, like different types of films,
Mhm.
like not just like English films. Have you ever watched the original Godzilla film, like back like the Japanese version?
The old black and white ones?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't remember. I try to watch at least a movie a night, so I don't.
Because there's this new Godzilla film.
Oh, yeah, I heard about it. Yeah, -1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I hear it's very good. It's
Yes.
Japanese as well.
Yes, I heard that. Yep. Yes.
Are there any like directors that inspire your work?
That's a really good question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. I think the people that inspire me as far as directors are the ones that I've seen interviews with that seem to be nice to people and are nice to work with, because there's a lot of a-holes everywhere in the world, whether it's people that work at Dunkin' Donuts or people that make movies. So I think the directors that have inspired me are people that seem like they're good people, and also the ones that have continued to work for a long time. Because Martin Scorsese, who some of your parents probably like his movies, he's in his 80s now and he's still making like incredible movies. So if I can be working when I'm 80, like that would be a dream, you know? Because who wants? I mean, if you want to retire, that means you didn't like your job, you know? Yes.
It sounded like you didn't really know what to do. You figured out what you wanted to do when you were 30. So
Yep.
what made you major in college?
Communications, kind of a little bit of everything. And I think the other thing too is another word of advice I can give you guys is don't feel pressured to feel like you have to figure out your life when you're 18, 19, 20. If your parents are like, you got to do this, you got to get a job, you got to go to college. It's like, if you don't know what you want to do, don't worry about it. Go work at a restaurant for a couple of years. Go somewhere. Go to a different state. Like, you'll get there. You'll eventually figure out what you want to do. And I knew what I wanted to do, but I just didn't pull the trigger, so to say, when I was in my early 20s, you know? Yes? My favorite thing about working in this business? Yeah, the money.
That's a good one.
Sorry. No, but honestly, the money's great. But I think it's the freedom. Okay, like, so tomorrow I'm flying to Nashville because I have to work in Nashville on Monday. It's like, I get to go to Nashville for the weekend. I'm going to a Titans game on Sunday. And then Monday, I'm filming somebody with a camera. That's like the easiest job in the world. And it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of headaches and phone calls and Zoom meetings, but it's like, if you could think about something that you love or somebody that you admire, whether it's Adele or Rob Dyrdek, it's like, imagine having his job. Imagine being Rob Dyrdek. You get to stand on a stage and show funny videos. That, to me, seems like a dream. So I honestly think the best thing about it is, and this is a major cliche that people say, it's like, if you truly find something that you're doing with your life as a career that you enjoy, you will never feel like you're working. I never feel like I'm working. When I did that Black Friday movie, I have 3 kids. When I did Black Friday, and I'm a single dad, I was filming we were doing overnights, which means we would start filming at like 4 p.m., 3 p.m., and film until like 3 in the morning. Then I would drive home. We filmed at Babies R Us in Attleboro. I would do an overnight, get home at about 4 a.m., sleep for 3 hours, get up, get my kids on the bus, sleep for a couple more hours, and then go back to work and do it all over again. And I never complained. I was never like, I'm not doing this anymore. I was like, dude, I get to make a movie? Like, why would I complain about sleep? So I think it's the enjoyment in just actually doing it, you know? So.
Are there films that are easier to direct than others? Like, I know for example, the Taylor Swift concert. It was kind of just a concert. Would
Yep.
that be an easier I don't know.
It's a really good question, and I honestly think the answer is yes, because I did a lot of I did a lot of music TV like that. I worked with, I'm trying to think if there's any artist you guys know that I have directed, like Nick Jonas. Yeah, well, Steven Tyler, but he's older. I worked with Nick Jonas. I worked with Jason Aldean, for any of you that listen to country. I worked with Tech9, who's like an underground rapper. But a lot of live music like that is like you're on a sound stage. I worked with Katy Perry. You're on a sound stage, and there's 10 cameras, and she does the concert, and you're in a room like that room over there with a switcher, and you're like camera 2, camera 3, camera 1, camera 5, and you edit it together. And if you record it, you can go back later and just make little tweaks and say, oh, well, this shot's better here. And it's like, then you're done. When you're doing a movie, you have to like deal with the costume people and the makeup people. And then the prop guy from Black Friday is like shoving a chainsaw in my face. Do you like this chainsaw? Do you like this chainsaw? And then you have to deal with the actors because they don't want to come out of their trailer. So something like the Taylor Swift movie, yes, it's a million times easier than making a feature film. Good question. Yep.
I'll
Yes.
Can you talk about how the like since when you started, how has the technology changed?
Well, I don't think there's any more excuses. If anybody wants to work in media, you guys can do things on your iPhone. Like there are these kids on YouTube who make prank videos or whatever it is. These iPhones have, the cameras are just as good as anything. You can make there's a guy named Sean Baker who made a couple of, or I think his first feature film, it was called Tangerine. It was shot on an iPhone in Los Angeles. So if people say, oh, you can't make a movie, you literally can make a movie. You can use your iPhone to shoot it. You can use your iPhone to edit it. It's just about how much time you want to put into it, you know? When I was a kid, we didn't have cameras like that, for sure. Yeah.
What was it like, because you're a writer, right?
Yep.
What was it like during the writer's strike?
I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. Any of you parents that work union jobs, if they go on strike, there's nothing you can do. You just have to take time off and wait till it to finish, you know?
Was it hard?
Hard in what way?
Like, financially?
Yeah, it definitely hit people for sure. Not me. I was lucky. I had another project going on that was non-union, but it's not good for anybody,
Do you
know?
have to work union or can you work?
Depends what you're doing. Documentaries usually are not union because the budgets are at a certain price point and you're not working with actors or writers. You know, it's like if you want to make a documentary about like the scallop business in New Bedford, those are all regular real people, you know? So you had a question? No? My dream actor to work with? Oh, that's a good question. Who's my dream actor to work with? Maybe Denzel Washington.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I think he's the best. Yes.
When you were a kid, was this like the one you were set on, or was there like anything else that you
I think so. I think I kind of knew that more than being set on wanting to be a director, I just knew I never wanted to have a real job. Like when I say real job, I mean like working at a bank. No disrespect to anyone whose parents work at a bank. I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to work in an office. I worked in an office once when I was like 23, and it was just not for me. So I think I knew when I was little, yeah, to answer your question. Yes.
I don't know if this is like rude or not, because I don't know.
I won't be offended.
Like doing what you do you make good money?
Yes.
That's what they are. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, what is your like official job name?
I'm a director.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a producer? Or?
Yeah, sure. I produced that Tyler documentary.
Nice. Can you explain to them the difference between producing and directing?
Okay, so I'm working on a project right now that I'm the director on, but I also found the studio that would finance it, so that technically gives me a producer credit. But my producer, it's like I'm going to Nashville tomorrow. I didn't have to book my flight. I didn't have to book my hotel. I don't have to worry about my paychecks. I just get wire transfers into my bank account. My plane ticket is booked. My Uber to the airport is booked. My hotel is booked. I get emails and I just show up. My producer will send me an itinerary. Here's your flight. Here's your Uber. Here's your hotel. And then when I get to the hotel, there'll be an envelope of cash waiting for me, which is per diem. The best thing about per diem is it's basically spending money when you're working. So it's like what's that?
I said, oh, that's amazing.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. So I was in Philadelphia a couple months ago, and I had, I think it was like, I was like $600 for a couple days to just go eat or whatever I wanted to go to the museum or whatever, but it's cash that I don't have to spend my own money, and I'm getting paid. So per diem is pretty common on jobs like that.
So, for my friend's aunt's job, they give her like a work card that will like be in the place that she's at, that she's working for. Does that have any? Do they like?
Yeah, if I want a rental car, they'll get me one, but I prefer to take Ubers because I don't want to have to deal with parking and all that stuff.
You have to not, what about gear too? Do you have to bring your own gear or
Nope.
everything's all set up?
I have a crew.
Everything?
I have a crew.
Wow.
You have to get to, I think you have to get to a point too where, I think one of the mistakes people make in filmmaking or just in media is like, I hate to keep using Rob Dyrdek, but you brought him up. So, like, let's say he's done with his show, okay? Or that girl, Chanel West Coast, whatever. They're done with that show. And then a network comes to them and goes, hey, we want you to do another show. And it's less money and not as fun, and we're only gonna air it one night a week. Is he gonna take that job? Right. So you have to get to a point in your career where you start saying no to things. So I'm at the point in my career where I'm not gonna do a job where I have to bring my own camera or book my own flights, or I would never do that. Not to be egotistical, but it's like I've worked hard enough to get to a certain point where I just,
You deserve it.
exactly. So that's the way you have to do it. Yeah.
When it comes down, because I love the film business.
Sure, I can tell.
I want to be a film director.
I can tell.
I'm very geeky when it comes down to that.
Sure.
Roddy knows. What in your opinion, what are the keys to making like a good story, like a good screenplay, like good storytelling with characters, dialogue?
I think that's a two-edged sword, because I think that movies are in a very dangerous place right now as far as storytelling goes. I think that every story, there's a great graphic online. It kind of shows how ridiculous storytelling is. It's a story about a boy who has a problem, and he meets an older person who helps him, and then he goes on a journey, and then he has an issue on that journey, and then he eventually figures out the journey and beats the bad guy, and he saves the day. That is Star Wars, Harry Potter, Spider-Man, The Matrix, and something else. It's all the same story. So that's cool, but at the same time, it's like one of the things I loved about 70s films is some of that storytelling was unconventional. I love movies that have horrible bad endings, like the good guy doesn't win or something bad happens. I think a great place to look for stories is like a lot of old Greek tragedy or Aesop's Fables, or a lot. You guys would be shocked. Some of these teen movies, like Not Another Teen Movie or 50 First Dates, they're all based on Shakespeare. They're all based on, like, you know, A Midsummer's Eve or whatever. I'm not a big Shakespeare guy, but most of these romantic comedies are based on old stories.
Like Avatar, it's like dancing with wolves in like space.
Exactly. But people seem to like that. The guy, he doesn't like his evil corporation. He meets a girl who's from a different culture. He falls in love with her. He fights for her culture, and then everybody's happy. It's a pretty basic story, you know? So, yeah.
But like with Marvel, for instance,
Those movies are garbage.
you're talking to a Marvel fan.
Listen, I love Marvel too. I have the X-Men tattooed on my whole upper arm, but those movies have gotten to a point where it's like they're just boring.
What I want, would you ever work with Marvel if they gave you the money to do it?
Of course.
Like even if it was like you're like a puzzle piece to like a.
I don't care. I don't care. I have no shame. If Marvel wanted to write me a big check, I'll be there tomorrow.
Can you explain putting in your dues to the kids? Like, how does it take to get to the level that you're at, in other words?
I think the biggest thing about paying your dues is you have to realize that you have to do that. My 13-year-old, I have two sons and a daughter. My 13-year-old, he has this weird thing that he just thinks he should just get everything. He should get this and he should get this. And I'm like, but you're not earning it. And my older one is a little more heads up about earning things. And I think if you want to work at ESPN's in Connecticut. It's like an hour and 40-minute drive. If you love sports, if you guys are here working on sports, you're doing a story on field hockey or football, and you love how dramatic it is, and you love the characters and the competition, and you say, I want to work for ESPN. You can't go to college for 4 years and then drive to ESPN and go, I'm here to direct the show. You have to start off in the lower level, because after years of hard work, you will, just like I was saying to you about Rob Drydeck and Chanel West Coast not taking lesser jobs, because they've done the work to get to a certain point. So once you pay your dues, you get to a certain point. Yeah, and the only time I would do something that was not at my level now is if I found a project that I really, really loved, that was a smaller project, but I wanted to do it because I wanted to do it and I wasn't worried about the money. I would do stuff like that, but that's because I'm passionate about it. Otherwise, you sort of earn, you're making your way up the ladder, so to speak. So.
Well, let's get one more from Andrew. Go ahead. One question.
So you said you liked like Marvel movies, right? So what's your favorite one?
Probably was it Endgame when Iron Man died?
Yeah, sadly.
Right, but that's the thing about movies, is that's like everyone, if you ask any nerd, I'm a nerd, if you ask any nerd what's the best Star Wars movie, everybody says Empire Strikes Back. Okay, well, what happened in that movie? The main hero found out his dad was the worst guy in the universe. He had his hand chopped off, and then his best friend was frozen in rock. And it's like, why is that the best one? Because life is not great sometimes. You're stuck in traffic with your parents, or your mother's giving you a hard time, or you're fighting with your sibling, or you have a bad grade and it's stressing you out. Life is not all, here's the hero, and oh, things are bad, but now everything's great. Like, life sucks sometimes, and that's relatable to people. That's why when Iron Man died, and they all died, but some of them came back or whatever, that's real life. So I think, to me, that's more relatable, Life's fun, but also it sucks sometimes. So I think that's the most relatable thing, Yep.
What about DC?
I mean, no, not for me. Not for me. I know James Gunn, he's done a couple favors for me, but I don't think, let me ask you guys a question. You guys are all, does anybody here care about Superman? Okay, one guy. One guy. One guy.
We have Superman on the wall right behind you.
I just think that it's, I'll give you a perfect example. Has anybody in here heard of that Five Nights at Freddy's? Okay, everybody just nodded their head. You were recording this?
Yeah.
Okay, this is why I think movies are a problem. I'm on Twitter, and in 2016, when my kids were into Five Nights at Freddy's, I literally said, when this movie comes out, it's going to be huge. That movie came out and made $100 million. Yet, these old, stupid, gray-haired guys in the studio system, they still think Superman is, nobody cares about Superman anymore. One guy, no offense, all these young girls and boys, nobody cares about Superman. And that's the thing. It's like, get rid of all this old crap nobody cares about. Exactly.
It's like Spider-Man. The Spider-Man story.
It does.
Characters and dialogue. It's just like
Pretty much.
Can I say something? The reason why no one cares about Superman is because of the old regime at Warner Brothers. Because they basically...
No, I disagree. I think that Superman is a played-out character. Superman was a 1950s Christ-like figure who was invincible, who could always save the day, and he flew around in red underwear. Like, how is that relatable to anybody nowadays? It's not. I just think nobody cares about Superman anymore. So, what is it? When I was first starting out, that's a great question, by the way. When you're starting out in the business, like I have a friend who works in the business, and he was working at a certain place for a long time, and then he lost that job, and he was trying to get jobs at other places, and his best career move at that time would have been to move. He could have moved to Chicago, he could have moved to Los Angeles, because there's more opportunities there, but he chose to stay in Boston. And it didn't turn out great for him. So I've definitely been in places where I was like in between films and I had to like try to find other jobs or take part-time jobs, whatever. So it definitely happens. Luckily now I'm at a place where I've continued to make, you know, bigger projects with real money, but it happens for sure. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I grew up in Lakeville. I went to Apponequet. So, yeah.
Very low.
Yes.
Have you ever been like in a point in your career where you were just like, I can't do this anymore? Like you had like no faith in yourself of doing it. Like, have you ever gotten to a point in your career where you were just like, I can't do this anymore. It's too hard or like whatever.
That's a good question. I think I probably have, but I think deep down I probably didn't believe myself if I actually felt that way. But there is a big thing called imposter syndrome, which is like when I did Black Friday every year on Black Friday gets a big bump on all the streaming things. It was just like number 10 on iTunes, which none of you guys probably even use iTunes. iTunes is Apple's like streaming or whatever. But you get to a point as a creative person where imposter syndrome is like you wake up in the morning and you go, today's the day that everyone's going to figure out I have no idea what I'm doing. It's a big thing with artists. It's like you just think, man, how am I? It comes with being insecure and having vulnerabilities and thinking that you don't have much self-worth. I don't do it often, but we've all been there where it's like, ooh, people are going to figure out that I don't know what I'm doing. This is garbage. And then people are like, dude, I love your movie. And it's like, oh, whew, I fooled you too. You know, so yeah, for sure.
Well, Jordy, one question, please.
How do you balance life and your job?
Good question, man. That's a real question. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. I consider myself very lucky because I've been blessed with sort of a I don't give an F attitude about most things. I try not to I feel like you guys spend so much time on social media and somebody said this about this person and someone said this about this person and this person made fun of your shoes or you don't like this. You gotta just not let people bother you. I think it's not easy, but I also think it goes back to the question that young lady back there asked me, which is, it was something about, is it hard, how hard it was to, loving what you do. If you love what you do, it makes that easier. It makes the work-life balance a lot, because if you work at an office and you absolutely hate it, man, then the rest of your life you're gonna hate it too. But if you love what you do, then you don't worry so much about the other stuff. It's like, my dad is very old, and me and my kids had to go clean out his attic, so I rented a dumpster and went and did that yesterday in Freetown. But I worked earlier in the day, but then I took the rest of the day off. So it's like, if you work in an office, you can't take the day off, you know? So I think loving what you do makes that easier, for sure. Yeah. Yep. Yes? Really good question. The hardest thing about being a director is it's almost like, I think, on par with being an athlete or being in a band. Isn't there a kid from Dartmouth High who played in the NFL?
Yeah.
Okay.
Todman.
Todman, right?
Yeah, Todman, yeah.
So when my kids were growing up, there's a lot of parents who thought that their kids were going to be incredible athletes. My kid's going to be in the NFL. My kid's going to play Major League Baseball, and that's not always the case. So being a filmmaker or a musician or a makeup artist or a hairstylist, it's not the same thing, but I think that there's a certain level of hard work, but I think there's also some luck involved. You just have to, if it's truly what you want to do, anything in your life, if whatever you truly want to do, you just have to try to say not quit and just do it. And I think that's easy for people like me to say because we were some of the lucky ones, you know what I mean? There may be people that don't feel that way because I have friends who try to be directors and they're not doing anything. So I don't know. That's a tough one. Yeah. Yes?
So what would you do if you could no longer, like, work as a director? Like, if something prevented you from working in that
I'd be a carpenter for sure. Because I grew up, my dad was a carpenter. He's a teacher, but he's a carpenter in the summer. So I've learned to build, like I built half my house, and I do it in the like part-time when I'm home bored. I built my own kitchen table, and I enjoy it. I like working with wood and stuff. So yeah, if I think carpentry is just as cool as being an artist, like a director, because you're building stuff. I would do something that was some kind of craft like that. I wouldn't work in an office, you know. I like to chop trees down and I have a wood stove, so I like to chop trees down and cut the wood up just as a hobby. So something that I can be active, you know. Yep. Anybody else? Yes.
So earlier you talked about like how you like about how most people think that The Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
But now I need to know your opinion on the best Star Wars movie.
I think it's Empire Strikes Back. 100%. Yeah. I mean, that's my generation, because we 70s, 80s, you know, those are the movies we grew up with, and it wasn't until the new ones came out later, which, you know, those are whatever. But yeah, I think that's the best one. It's the most tragic, you know. Yes.
You say do you actually know James Gunn? Or?
I don't know him well, we know each other, but we have mutual friends, and I was working on a film project, and he did me a big favor. So everybody kind of knows each other.
He cares about Superman.
Good for him.
Who's the most famous person you've met?
I've met a lot of famous people, a lot of musicians. I worked with Katy Perry, Nick Jonas, Taylor Swift. What? Huh? She's incredible. I think she's incredible. I was working at an iHeartRadio. They do an iHeartRadio concert every year, like in Las Vegas. This was like probably 2005. And I was working at that, and I met her and Lady Gaga. Wow. Yeah. Yep. Yes. A favorite famous person? Yeah, my favorite famous person, but I didn't talk to him because I didn't want to bother him, is Coach Belichick. Because I'm a huge Patriots fan. So I was eating dinner next to him in Nantucket, and I didn't want to bother him because most of you guys' parents know who Steven Tyler is. He's in Aerosmith, and he was one of the American Idol hosts years ago when you guys were littler. He's super famous, like Madonna or Michael Jordan, and I would go out to dinner with him, and people were always bothering him. Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, can I get a picture? Hey, can I get an autograph? And it's exhausting. So I didn't want to bother Coach Belichick. He was eating dinner. I don't want to bother his dinner. So that was enough for me to just eat dinner next to him.
We have two graduates that work for the Patriots in the video department.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the guy who runs it is from New Bedford.
Yeah, I know. I don't know him, but we have mutual friends. Yeah, that's great.
So he hired two kids from the area.
That's
Well,
awesome.
Kids, but they're both grown now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I've
Yeah.
spent up with one of them recently.
Yep. I don't know how good that job is now, but.
A lot of editing work.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I
No more Superman questions.
It's not Superman, it's not. Who's your favorite like film director?
I don't have a favorite. If I had to pick, probably James Cameron. But I didn't. I don't. I mean, they're all amazing for different reasons.
What's your favorite James Cameron movie?
Probably Aliens. I think.
Those are the only ones I've seen.
Yeah, that's you guys. That's you guys' generation for sure. The second one was great. I loved it.
That really shows you the technology.
Yeah, it's amazing, incredible.
What about the Star Wars prequels?
I don't care about those.
Any other questions?
Yes.
What's your kid's opinion on like what you do and like where you go and like who you meet and like all that stuff? Do you think it's
My kids are my kids, and just like many of you think your parents are uncool, I'm sure my kids think I'm very uncool. My oldest, what grade are you guys? Yeah, my oldest is a sophomore, and he's always like, "Dad, you're so weird." So,
have they ever like been anywhere with you? Like,
yeah, of course, yeah. I took my kids on set for a couple movies, and my oldest has worked with me a couple times, but you know, I just still think that they think I'm weird. You know, which is normal. I don't.
everybody thinks their dad is weird.
Exactly. So they think I'm weird. Yeah.
What's your favorite genre of movie?
Good question. believe it or not, my favorite genre of movie, which they don't really make anymore, is I loved in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of like these really intense thrillers, like The Firm with Tom Cruise, where he plays a lawyer, but like there's some shady stuff going on. There was a great Russian spy movie called No Way Out. I just love movies that are super intense, thrillers like that. But they don't really make those anymore. Everything now is like superheroes or horror, so which is fine, you know. Yes. Yeah.
What movie did you watch yesterday? Like, what's the last movie you watched?
The last movie I watched that comes to mind was I watched an 80s Mexican 80s B movie called Demonoid, which was awesome. And then I've been watching Invincible, which is on Amazon Prime. It's a cartoon, which is really great. And then the last movie I watched, a lot of times I'll start a movie and then just 20 minutes in, I'm like, this is garbage. What did I watch yesterday? I watch a lot of old movies. I'd have to go into my, I watched 13 Hours, which is the Michael Bay movie about Benghazi. But I only finished like half of it, but it was good. Yes?
You talk about like our generation and stuff and how it's different than like yours. What do you think about the Barbie movie?
I think the Barbie movie's awesome.
Watch it?
No, I didn't see it. I think the idea, I think you're like, what? I think the, I didn't see it, so I didn't see it, so I can't judge it, but I think it's cool that something other than Spider-Man was like a huge box office success. I think it's cool that little girls got to go see a movie that they enjoyed. Okay, I've heard it was bad. I look at it from sort of a business perspective. Like, good for Greta Gerwig that she's now the biggest female director of all time. Like, good for her, you know? Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm asking you.
No, it's fine.
You and me both, Andy.
When you watch movies, do you watch them more intricately because you're a director? Like,
So-
do you look at things like?
Sometimes. I think sometimes movies are so good that you just get lost in them.
Yeah.
But then sometimes movies are good but also kind of bad that you go, ooh, that was bad. Like in my movie Black Friday, we sort of started running out of money at the end, and some of the graphics at the end are not really great. So when I watch it, I just go, oh God, that looks terrible. So sometimes I get lost in it for sure, you know? Like you were talking about the Taylor Swift concert film. My daughter's a huge Taylor Swift fan. So when I'm watching that I watched one of her concerts. I don't think it was the most recent one. I think it was the one before that. It was on Netflix. I was watching it with her, and there was an angle that I thought was really weird and unflattering, and I was like, why would they pick that? Like, I was, every year, I know you guys don't listen to rock and roll, but every year there's this big ceremony called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame where they take all the famous bands and they induct them into like a Hall of Fame. And there's this famous old artist that all your parents probably like. His name's Billy Joel. And he's older now, and he's kind of heavy set in the midsection, like me. And they had a camera that was like up on him, and you could see like his whole tummy. And I was like, who the hell thought that was a good idea? So it definitely happens. I definitely see things, and when you're watching something, that's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to just be in it. So, yeah, yes, yes.
So you just said your daughter's a huge Taylor Swift fan, so like, and you said like your kids probably think you're boring. So does she think that's cool or no? Like
Does she think it's cool that I think Taylor Swift is cool?
No. Didn't you say you met Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's like, yeah, she won't stop bugging me about when she can meet her. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that. It's not like an office party where I could just, bring her in. Yeah.
One more question. One more.
Yes.
Are there any shows that you think are really good?
There's a lot of shows that I think are good. Breaking Bad, The Sopranos. What?
Do you like Shameless?
I didn't get into Shameless, no. My kids loved it though. Game of Thrones.
High School Musical.
Never watched High School Musical. I do not like musicals. I don't think they have a place in movies. My kids loved The Greatest Showman, and every time they put it on, I would leave the room. I think singing belongs in singing, and movies belong in movies. I don't think that they should intersect.
Have you ever directed a musical?
I would never. Never.
No matter how much money, like,
$300 million.
you're gonna take it and taking it.
Oh, that's a tough question. Would I direct a musical for a big paycheck? Oh, God, I think I would have to. Yes.
Not the movie, but did you see the TV show, A Series of Unfortunate Events?
Of which one?
A Series of Unfortunate Events.
Was it on Netflix?
I think so.
Yeah, I think I did, yeah.
Did you see the movie too?
With Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
Yes.
How did you feel like in comparison?
I mean, I think Jim Carrey's always the better, just because I love Jim Carrey, because he's my generation, you know. I don't know. I feel like a lot of times when they redo things, it's never as good as the original.
That's really what I say, but I watched a TV series and then I watched the movie and I was like, this is so trash.
Jim Carrey was awful.
Yes.
What has been your highest paying thing?
Am I allowed to say that? Like how much or?
No, just say what project.
Did you do that?
What project.
Yeah, what project?
I think per job, I used to work for country music television where I would fly down and direct a live show like your Taylor Swift concert where we had a bunch, like the Katy Perry thing. It was Katy Perry and Casey Musgraves. So they flew me to Los Angeles. I literally worked for about 4 hours and got a huge check and flew home. And I've done that about 12, 15 times.
We're gonna wrap it up. So,
Yeah.
Can you, because we're gonna end soon, but
Sure.
one message that you want to give to the students, what would that message be for young people?
I think I already.
Thinking about maybe going into this career or something related.
Yeah, I don't. There's nothing special about what I do, and I think what's special about what I do is that I enjoy it, and I truly believe. Like I have a friend who's a hairstylist in New Bedford, and she seems so happy because she loves hair and she loves to talk to people. She doesn't ever stop talking. I think truly, if you love football and you want to work in football, but you're not the best athlete, continue to work in football and become a football coach. If you want to be a hairdresser, be a hairdresser. If you want to get into finance and make a ton of money, then do that. If you want to fight for human rights, then go do that. If you want to protect the environment, then go do that. I think you have to find something that you love and something that you're passionate about, and don't ever get into something because of false pretenses or you think you're going to make a certain amount of money, because I think that's dangerous too. I think my only advice is find something that you realize that you love and try to make that your career, because if you want to be a mom, be a mom. If you want to be a chef, be a chef. There's no specific career that is the best path. I think the best path is the one that makes you the happiest.